What's up, Zombie Talk 123? I think there's a great direction for the Cubs hiring Dale Sveum for, I think that's how you pronounce the name. I've heard it a few times, but it's just spelled pretty weirdly. For a 3-year deal with an option for 2015. Why do I like this deal? First of all, he was a Brewers hitting coach, and as you can tell, and as you know, the Brewers offense was absolutely fantastic last year. And that's a big part into go who they have in their offense, obviously. But you see guys like Nigel Morgan kind of turn around their career. Betancourt had a great year offensively overall. But then you see guys like Casey McGee, he struggled, but he definitely was a breakout candidate for a few years ago. So, um, you know, I think he's a good choice for a number of reasons. He's younger. He's a good fresh take on the team. I think he can be a great leader. He's a very smart baseball person. I mean, just a general outtake on him. I think a lot of teams respect him, and I was reading about it earlier that he's very coveted. Guy for any coaching job or managing job, and you can tell here because the Cubs are one of those teams that any manager would probably quit his job except maybe Joe Madden and okay, maybe not all the managers, but a lot of managers, or at least all free agent managers, would go to the Cubs. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to a team that has brought in, has a commitment to winning this century, has brought in Theo Epstein, has brought in Jed Hoyer, and has brought in some younger guys to try to shape this thing around. And who doesn't want to be a part of the first World Series in 100-something years? You'll be remembered forever as a hero in Cubs history. So for this guy, he's just trying to lead the young guys and develop young guys. And for the veterans, give them a motivation to play. I know some guys like Alfonso Soriano have a huge contract, Alfonso Soriano and Big Z, and he needs to keep their temper low, and he needs to make sure that they are playing 120% to show a good example for these young guys. And I think Aramis Ramirez will help having him out of the clubhouse, because you see him, he'll be lazy on these ground balls, and you start seeing Starlin Castro and Darwin Barney pick up on those habits, and they're not good habits to pick up on. So, I think that they're obviously going to try to make some trades during this offseason for guys like Alfonso Soriano, but it's going to be almost impossible to get that salary off. So, they've made a lot of mistakes in the past trying to band-aid their team with all free agency. And they're good for a year or two, but really, to sustain in the long run, you need to develop the players. And I think that's something that Theo Epstein understands. That's something that Jed Hoyer understands. Developing young players that will last and will have a dynasty or, a long time, not just signing free agents. And it's something you see the Phillies, they kind of halfway did that. I mean, they've signed a lot of free agents and made a lot of trades, but at the same time, they've developed a lot of players too with, Ryan Howard, with Chase Utley, I believe with Jimmy Rollins. I'm not sure. I mean, he's just been there for so long. He's getting older that I don't even know if he was drafted by the Phillies. Guys like Shane Victorino, Jason Worth bounced around a bit, but the Phillies really did believe in him. And I'm not sure how many other players on the team they signed or traded for, but really, you have to internally develop players. And, the Phillies team is getting old, and they're not going to be great forever, but they are trying to improve their team. Went out and got Jonathan Papelbon for a 4-year deal, went out and got Hunter Pence, a younger player, to kind of balance his team out. But, the Cubs just need to start from the ground up, and I think the manager is a very important position for them, as Mike Quaddy showed that he just did not have a great year. I mean, he obviously tried his best, but it just wasn't good enough for this position. I think Terry Francona had some high hopes of maybe becoming Cubs manager, but I never thought Terry Francona and Theo Epstein had a great relationship, so to think that he might hire him as Cubs manager, I think Theo, I think it wasn't something that he would actually do. I think Terry Francona would, he would love to be a Cubs manager, but I just don't think Theo was going that direction. I think he was going in a new direction, and maybe a younger direction, maybe more inexperienced direction. Inexperience, but shows really good qualities that will really work 250% to bring a championship title to Chicago, and I think the players are definitely excited for next year. So I think it's a good move by the Cubs. I mean, there's been a lot of moves today. There's been a lot of MLB official. The bargaining agreement was just agreed upon. It will be announced probably Monday. The Astros are moved to the AL. Add 2 wild card teams. I don't even know what to think about that because I don't know how they're going to make that work. But a lot of interesting things have happened in these winter meetings. Not as many signings or trades as I expected, but with this whole collective bargaining agreement, you don't know, if you sign a Type A free agent, what's going to happen. And anyway, usually in the beginning, the market's pretty slow because you're trying to let other teams set it for you while the other teams are trying to set you. Oh god, let me rephrase that. Your team is trying to let other teams set the market for you, and those other teams are trying to get you to set the market for them. So it will eventually happen, and there's been a lot of teams contacting a lot of agents and a lot of meetings, but nothing too significant has happened other than a few signings, Aaron Hill, other guys like that. So the newest ones today, Jose Molina is nearing a deal with the Rays, and we saw Jared Laird sign a contract earlier today. All right, so thanks for watching. Cubs is definitely a good move for them. They announced Dale Sveum, I think that's how I say his name, will be their new manager for 2012, 2013, 2014, and option for 2015. I expect him to do pretty well with the Cubs, and Cubs fans, don't try to criticize them too much because I think this is the best that the Cubs can do at this point. You could argue Valentine might have been a better option, but I think there's a pretty good option here. I think Valentine might be a good option in Boston, though. But, I mean, really, it's going to take a while to see if this guy's really making an impact or not because the fact that they don't have a great team as it stands. And, they're under 500 team last year, and they have some bad contracts. So we'll see how the new management does to try to at least start something this year. But don't expect them to just all of a sudden start winning with new management, making a few minor moves and then a new manager. So, but we'll see, and we'll see if the management makes more major moves and is able to unload Carlos Zambrano, is able to unload maybe Alfonso Soriano, something like that. So, again, thanks for watching. I hope for the best with the Cubs, even though I'm a diehard Cardinal fan. Maybe wait a few more years for them in the World Series, for them to win the World Series, but maybe not forever. I think it might be good for baseball at some point to end this curse. I think it was good for baseball that the Red Sox won, and it's definitely good for the organization. So thank you for watching. This is MLB Talk 1, 2, 3.